The plan was to hike 23 miles over the top of Mount Mansfield to our waiting car. It didn't happen exactly that way. Here's the story. We did a lot of planning to pick the route. In fact, I did a whole video about it. Sunday morning, we were up early and headed out. Just getting the cars in the right places turned out to be harder than I thought. A long drive, and then leaving one car at the tail end and driving to the start of the hike. The hike would be 23 miles with one night overnight on the way across, somewhere on Mount Mansfield. The long trail goes from the Massachusetts border up the entire state of Vermont to Canada.
You ready?
This hike was section 10. We weren't sure where we would stay, but we knew there were 4 different shelters in between our starting point and our finish point. We started on the Lake Mansfield Trail that would take us about 2.5 miles to get to the long trail. Pretty soon after the hike got started, my older son was moving kind of slow. He told me he was feeling dizzy and nauseous. It turned out he'd been battling some kind of flu the week before, but he wanted to press on. The Lake Mansfield Trail took us through the woods next to a road and past the lake. Then we went into the woods and the hike got good.
We just stopped because this is so pretty.
A huge beaver pond that was so cool, and you could clearly see the beaver's house and the trees they had chopped or were chopping down. We decided we'd get to the first shelter and make a decision. That was Butler Lodge, and it was still super early in the hike. We felt good enough to keep going, so we did.
Lunch is done.
That was lunch?
Oh, I don't know. That was food.
2 Fritos was done.
Yeah, 2 Fritos was done.
We had all the things we needed on our backs. It was a super hot day, but we stayed cool by dipping bandanas in the streams, and there were plenty of streams. We were confused for a minute when the trail went right down a stream bed, and we lost track of the markings, but we found them pretty quickly.
Well, this is confusing, actually. So the route that you traced out, the yellow route, right?
Yeah.
Goes one side of it. The long trail apparently goes the other side of it.
We got to Butler Lodge, and at that point, we were only going about 1 mile an hour. We made the decision that we'd spend the night at Butler Lodge, but that we'd make the climb up to the forehead, see the views, and then come back down. Butler Lodge was on the way up Mount Mansfield. Mount Mansfield is the biggest mountain in Vermont, and it looks like a face. So one side of the mountain is called the forehead, the other side called the chin. Even though there are so many shelters in this section of trail, the top of the mountain is an alpine zone, so there is no camping, just open rock faces. And the hikes there are pretty scrambly, so not something you want to get stuck on in the dark. That scramble was one of the most fun parts of the hike, and the views were an incredible reward.
Where are we, guys?
Forehead. At 3,940 feet.
Feels like more, doesn't it?
It does.
We decided to make it a loop and go back to the Butler Lodge by way of the Wampahoofus Trail. That had a couple of not very scary but cool caves to walk through.
Way out on top, too.
After a fun scramble down, we made it to Butler Lodge. It was beautiful. It was quiet. There were plenty of water sources, as long as we had water filters with us, which we did. And we got to have dinner and watch the sunset there. Did we think a lot about whether we should have pushed through another 2.5 or 3 miles to get to the other side of the mountain? Yes, we did. But I think we made the right choice. So instead of making it over the top of Mount Mansfield, the next morning we got up and started to head back down. And there we were in for another great surprise.
Clara Bow. Rough. Okay.
At the last minute, we decided to turn onto the Clara Bow Trail. What a cool trail. Below the name of the sign, it says, in parentheses, rough. And what that meant to us was fun. That one had a very cool cave that you walk through. We turned our headlamps on for that, and you climb a ladder to get out of it. So we never made it to the car at the far end of the hike. We came back to where we started, celebrated with a nice lunch at a local Chinese place that had picnic tables and strange drinks that you had to pop open with a marble. I wish we had made the 23 miles that we intended. I think we could have, but we decided to play it safe, and it was the right move. My son is still not feeling his best. And now we're all more eager than ever to go back and cover more ground.